Okay, let's look at this closely. Here in Illinois, in Chicago, they're talking about channel 51.1, that's 6. It's a substation, interesting, sub meaning under. Fox, which is 666, and that equals your 9. So all week they've been talking about 50.1 is going to be playing movies. Movies. Well, what are movies? Well, what are movies? You go to movies and what happens? There's an emotional thrill. There's energy being pushed around. You're happy, you're sad, you know, everybody's clapping or crying or whatever. Isn't that what the purpose of a movie? You know, it's the feel-good movie of the year because it's energy, right? So let's look at the word movie. If we look at the word movie, movie equals move E. Well, what is E? Well, all you have to do is go back to Einstein's theory of relativity. E equals mc squared. E is mass. Okay, it's energy. It's energy. Okay, so when you say mc, E equals mc squared, you're talking about energy and mass moving at the speed of light in a vacuum, right? So movie, they're moving energy. That's what that means. When I tell you there's a new movie coming out, they're moving energy. That's what the word means. It doesn't mean something like a film. It means they're moving energy. Okay, so here's their logo for the station, UPN. Recognize those 3 symbols? Where did I show you that from before? Right here. Here's your circle. Here's your square or your cube. And here's your triangle. Starting to get it? Starting to see it? Yes? Does this make me a seer? Does this make me a prophet? No. It just makes me aware and I pay attention to shit. I don't need to send emails to people. You know that's what that one-on-one guy is doing? He's sending PMs, personal messages, to people's accounts saying that he's a seer for our times. Look, I got news for you. If you got to tell somebody that you're a prophet, you ain't. Just thought I'd throw that in. Okay? Ain't nothing mystical here about what I'm doing. And there ain't nothing mystical once you start doing it. But that's how the religions have fucking bullshitted the people, is by making them think that the guy that's doing it has some kind of divine right. Whatever. So we know that this logo is really highly suspect, don't we? And we know that the word movie is really moving energy. So when we look at Einstein's theory of relativity, that was mc squared. Mc squared, that's mass and energy squared. And so it's mass and the speed of light in a vacuum. So that's interesting. In a vacuum, to get in a vacuum, you either have to be in space or it has to be in a tube. So when I started thinking about this guy, who's this? It's MC Hammer, right? MC. That's mass and the speed of light. What is the biggest thing that the Masons have been trying to do? Is bust the light barrier. That's what CERN's all about, is busting the speed of light. So you've got MC Hammer smashing the speed of light. Okay? Then you got this douchebag over here. Okay, this guy's wearing black and gold. There's your center colors. Here he is wearing red, blue, and white. Those are the 3 pillars, right? And here you got this guy, Aryan-looking douchebag, right? And here's the Semitic guy over here. And he's singing Ice, Ice, Baby. It's because, again, that's referring to the Adamite. That's referring to the prison that those guys are locked in. Okay? Ice, Adamite, diamond. So we're talking about move E. Okay? So let's jump to a supposed tragedy that happened in Chicago here. Not too many years ago. It was called the E2 nightclub. Here it is here. The E2 nightclub. Now what happened was there was a bunch of violations. I don't know if you can read that. You might have to blow your screen up. There's a bunch of violations. And so it's the E2. E2. So they're moving energy squared. Right? And if you look, if you can read it, right here, it says 63 counts. So we know that the story is referring to something other than a tragedy. It is a staged act or a computer graphic file created to pass on high volumes of information in a story. Again, I'll push this through to you. The Bible is written of stories within stories, and it's the easiest, safest way to pass on information. If only the people that are reading the story know what it means, everybody else that reads it will get completely the wrong idea of the story. You know, when you read about David and Goliath, about a small guy taking out a guy that was 13 or 20 feet tall, maybe they're talking about splitting atoms or doing something that was fantastic. Not really a guy throwing a rock and knocking the shit out of another guy. You get my point? We all know that in the Garden of Eden, nobody ate any apples. And then the Creator got mad. Okay, so you get the gist of it? So, when we talk about movies, you understand what we're talking about. Movies. MC Hammer. Mass, M is mass. C is the speed of light in a vacuum. So MC Hammer is busting the light barrier. And this douchebag over here, Vanilla Ice. And you notice one thing about both of these guys? Both of their music incorporates high amounts of bass. Bass is called an ELF frequency. It's extremely low frequency. Okay? ELF they call it. LF. Okay? Whatever. It's trying to break a barrier, and it's a barrier between us and them. The Masons are trying to, the Masons and the scientists are trying to break the barrier so that they can get in. And when they say MC Hammer can't touch this, I'm assuming at that time, it's either they're saying one of two things. Either they couldn't get out, that's why they're saying you can't touch this, it's not working, or it did work and there's nothing stopping us. I'm not sure. That song came out in what, the 90s? The early 90s? So I don't know. But just to give you an idea, they're talking in every facet of communication on high physics, period. And they do it through entertainment, and all the morons and retards all clap along and sing like a bunch of fucking mindless douchebags. And that's what they are. And there's nothing wrong with religion. Religion is a fine thing when taken in moderation. If you understand that there's a story going on behind the story, religion is a fine thing. Spirituality is the best thing a man can have. You know why science fails so much? Is because they omit the spiritual aspect. Everything on this planet has a spiritual essence to it. It wouldn't be here if it didn't. So what science does, I'll give you an example. Polio. Do you know why they were able to defeat polio? Polio was defeated because it had two sides. One was a bacterial, the other side was a virus. They have not conquered a virus. They don't know how to stop it. A virus is basically like a replicating monkey wrench that just gets into a cell and it corrupts it, and the cell deteriorates. And there's no way to kill it because it's not really alive. A bacteria is a living creature. So what they did is they killed the bacterial side of the virus and they cured polio. You know, if you want to call it cured, but it stopped the progression of it. So my point is you are not being told anything. You know, we have to sit here and muddle through this trying to figure this out. That's what I'm trying to do. And it's a very lonely progression for me. Because there's very few people that even fucking get any idea of what I'm saying. Just look at it like this. Everything you see on the news, that you read in the newspapers, that you see in entertainment, has nothing to do with you. It's information that's being passed from point A to point B. Okay? It's being passed between entities, organizations. You just see it because they're using a device that's in everybody's home, is a TV. If somebody needs to get information and they're on the receiving end of something, every place in the world has a TV. And so in order to put these things everywhere, they have to make you part of it so that it becomes a commonplace setting in everyday life. And that's a television. And so nobody's ever the wiser that stuff is being pushed through because everybody has a TV. Now it's the same thing with computers. Before it was books. Before that, it was a book. Okay, the Bible, they distribute it all over the place. You know how many codes have been sent during the war with spies that with certain verses were taken out of the Bible? Are you kidding me? Go look that up sometime. Let your mind run wild on that. MC Hammer was breaking the speed of light. And they were saying, what was he saying? You can't touch this. It was bass frequency. Same thing with Vanilla Icing and Ice Ice Baby.